Hello, dear students. Welcome to the third lecture of unit number 3, Software Project Management. In the previous lecture, we had studied about the software metrics. In the metrics, we saw what is a metrics. That is nothing but a sort of measurement. And this measurement is done for the activities that are involved in software development. And software metrics helps you when you want to measure your software, like you have units of measuring of weight in terms of kgs. You measure software in terms of software metrics. So today we will see two types of software metrics, that is size oriented and function oriented metrics. So first let us move on to size oriented metrics. Now, what is size-oriented metrics? Now, size-oriented metrics is something that is allowing you to estimate the efforts, the time scale of your product, and how many total number of errors are there in your product. So these things you can find out using the size estimation. Now, the two common methods of size estimation are line of code and function count. So these two things are there. We will first look on the line of code method or metrics for software size measurement. It is also called KLOC measurement. Now KLOC measurement is doing what? It is measuring the size of your software. How it is measuring your size of software? Suppose you are writing a code in Java, say hello world. Your first line will be your class name. Second line will be brackets encapsulating the class. Then after you will have your main method. Then after again you have an enclosing bracket and you are going to write your SOP statement. So it consists of total class, two brackets, again two brackets, method name and SOP statement. So a total of, you can say, 7 different lines. Okay, so that is nothing but your line of code. So you can say that any line in a code apart from comments and blanks, okay, is said to be line of code. And it is including headers, it is including declaration, it is also including executable and non-executable statements. So apart from comment and blank, everything in your code is said to be a part of your line of code. Okay, so what you are doing, you just cannot count line number 1, line number 2. Okay, instead you will count it in kilos or 1000 lines of codes or KLOC. Okay, so instead of LOC we will be using the term KLOC, that is 1000 lines of code. Okay, now this size oriented matrix is computed by finding out errors per line of 1000 lines of codes or defects per 1000 lines of code, then cost you are having for coding the 1000 lines of code, and how many documentation pages are needed for 1000 lines of code. So these four things are going to decide the size of your project. Okay, next is, after knowing these four things, you can compute other things. Which other things? You can find out errors per person month. So how many errors a person is doing in a month. Then KLOC per person month, that is how many 1000 lines of code a person is writing in a month. And how many dollars per page of documentation. So per page, what cost you can uphold for documentation. So these things you can find out using KLOC measurements. Now, what are the advantages of this KLOC measurement? So advantages, it is very easy to count or calculate the total number of lines from a developed software. These things are now intelligently available in any of the editors that you are using. If you are using NetBeans, you have a number of line written on the left hand side, starting of a line. So you can count based on that. You can increase the readability of a program through editors as things are in colored format. So that way it will be very easy for developers to count the code. Next is what are the issues using this KLOC method. So issues are, it is program language dependent, programming language dependent. So if I am writing a code to write the contents or copy a contents from one file to another, if I am doing this program in C, it will be a very, very long program compared to Java, which is a bit shorter, compared to Python, which is still more shorter. So your lines of code may increase or decrease depending on the language that you are using or choosing to develop the program or develop the project. Okay, then it will penalize well designed but short programs. Penalize means it is going to not be benefited for a well designed program, because if you are having a very well designed program, then your lines of code will be short. If you have a less line of code, you have to decrease your cost. And if you are using a very procedure oriented or any language like C, then the same program is going to require more number of same thing is going to require more number of lines. So advantages are got by those programming languages who are helping you to develop long lines of codes. Okay, so a very nice programming language is actually penalized if you are developing in a good programming language, and therefore it is not universally accepted as a best way to measure software. Okay, size. So we are moving on to function oriented metrics. Now function oriented metrics is doing nothing but it is measuring the functionalities that you are delivering in your project. So what is a functionality? It is nothing but the features that you want in your system. Okay, so if we are talking about library management, then searching for a book, issuing for a book, paying penalty, these are the functionalities. So this functionality is calculated through something called as function point or FP. Okay, now how this system works actually? This system is taking into consideration historical data. So it is using all the historical data it is available, and it is estimating the cost and effort required to design, code and test the software. Okay, so using historical data, it becomes very easy to estimate, because you can get a very rough estimate that in this software or this particular code you require this much of estimation of effort and cost. So maybe something plus or minus you can do in the current project that you are developing. Next is predict the number of errors that will be encountered during testing. This can also be done based on previous data, and it can also estimate the number of components or number of lines, or you can say your LOC, by past experience. Okay, so it is predicting cost and effort estimation in design, code, test. It is also estimating number of errors that can be encountered in testing, and it is also telling you about how many lines of codes roughly will be there. Now what is the advantage of function oriented metrics as compared to size? So first is it is programming language independent, because it is going to count only the functionalities and not the lines of codes that you are going to code. And it is something which is more likely before you start or in the early stages of development, because it is taking into consideration historical data. Now, what are the disadvantages of this system? It is a very subjective kind of data you are having. So computation will only be rough but not exact or fair. And counts of the information domain can be difficult to collect. So the domain from which you are taking your historical data can be different. So your basic rough estimate that you are making may vary. And this is just a number, but it has no physical meaning. We shall see why in the next slide, when we will see how to compute the FP or the function point, which is actually measuring nothing but functionality of your application. Okay. Now, before we start calculating the functionalities, we shall see what is the basic principle of function point analysis, or FPA. So FPA has a principle where you are dividing work or your system into certain functional units. Now, what are these functional units? They are nothing but external inputs, external outputs, external inquiries, internal logical files, and external interface files. Now, what are they actually? They are nothing but, you can say, let us take an example of input, external input first. So external input is nothing but it is originating from a user, or it is transmitted from another application, and it provides application oriented data or control information. And these are generally inputs are used to update the files that are there in your computer. Okay, so you can take an example of input like whatever form you are having, and you are filling the form, that is input. All the commands that you are giving, like your submit button, like open another window, okay, like saving. So these are the inputs. Now what is output? Output is something that each application is going to give to the user. So it will be something going out from the system to the user. So you can take as an example report. You can take a dialog box that is shown. You can take an example of an error message that is shown. Okay, so these all are outputs. Next is an external inquiry. So external inquiry is nothing but an online input that results in generation of some intermediate software response, and this response is in form of an online output. Okay, so generally you are saving your file and you can see the data in your computer. So that is what you can do here. Okay, next is your internal logical files. So internal logical files are a group of data that is residing within the application boundary, and it is maintained via the inputs that are coming. Okay, so whatever data you want to store in a file, you can just type as an input and it will be saved in your internal logical file. What is EIF? EIF is nothing but you are grouping the data, and this data is residing somewhere external to the application, and it is providing information that is of use to the application. So you can say something your interface through which you are interacting with the system. Okay, so let us just name these things through some shortcuts. The names that we are suggesting are this is nothing but input, this is output, this is inquiry, which is two-sided communication from system and from user both. This is a file and this is an interface. Okay, so let us see this with the help of a diagram. This is the application that you want to analyze. You want to find out the number of functionalities that this system is giving you through function point analysis. This is another application. Say it consists of hard disk and compact disk it is using. Okay, so this is another application. Now what is happening? The user is giving an input, user is getting an output, and this is a two-sided inquiry. Okay, same is here. This system is giving an input to the main system is giving output to the another system. This is a two-way inquiry. Okay, now this is EIF. EIF is your interface through which the system is interacting, and these are your internal logical files, which are files stored in the system being analyzed. Okay, so I think this diagram is totally clear. This was just a view of how the system takes place. This is not given in the book. Okay, so now let us start calculation of function oriented metrics. Okay, now function point metrics is FPA. Okay, FPA is nothing but function point analysis FPA. This is calculated by a product of UFP. UFP is unadjusted function point, and CAF is complexity adjustment factor. You don't need to move into details of all this. You just need to know the formulas. FPA is equal to UFP into CAF. Okay. Now, how you are calculating UFP and how you are calculating CAF is what we are going to study in detail. Okay. Now, before we move on to these two, let us see what is an FPA matrix. Now, FPA matrix is having all the functional units here: input, output, inquiry, files, and interface. And this is nothing but a weighting factor. Now, this weighing factor is simple, average, and complex. Means if a system is very simple, it will have these weighing factors. If it is an average weighing factor, it is this. And if it is a complex system, it will have these. So these are predefined numbers. You need to use this table as a reference when you are calculating the numerical. Okay. Okay. Now, UFP, that is unadjusted function point, is calculated by multiplying the weighing factor with the count. Okay. Wij is weighing factor and Cij is count. Now, why have I written I is equal to 1, j is equal to 1, and I is equal to 5, j is equal to 3? It is starting from 1. This is row, this is column. This is row, this is column. So here I have total 5 rows and 3 columns. That is why 5 and 3. So I want to iterate through this matrix. That is why I have written this. Okay. Okay. Now let us see this. Calculate FPA if all the CAF and WAF are average for the count values EI, EO, EQ, EIF, and ILF. So these are the counts which are given to you. Means the value of C is given to you. Okay. Weight you are supposed to take from here. And they are saying that they are average. So you are supposed to take this particular column. If they tell you that the weights are simple, you should have taken this column. If they tell you they are complex, you should have taken this column. But here when they have specified they are average, you are supposed to take the middle column. Okay. Now you are supposed to take the product of weight and count. So let us calculate the UFP. UFP is 10. First 10 is nothing but your EI. EI is 10. So count I have written 10. Okay. I have to multiply it by weighing factor of EI. So weighing factor of EI average is 4. So 10 into 4. Next is EO30. EO30 is here and EO average is 5. So 30 into 5. Next is EQ50. So count is 50 and EQ weight average is 4. So 50 into 4. EIF is 10 and average EIF is 7. So I have taken 10 into 7. ILF is 20. So count is 20 into weight of ILF average is 10. So 20 into 10. So finally you can compute UFP as 660. Okay. Okay. So we have completed this step. Step number 2. We shall now move on to find out CAF. CAF is nothing but 0.65 plus 0.01 into sigma Fi. Now what is sigma Fi? Sigma Fi is nothing but a set of questionnaires which are standard methods or practices for developing software. So we need to have certain questions. You have to answer those questions based on a significance number. So let us come to this chart. These are the various 14 questions which are just for your reference. You can read them in the slides. So these questions have to be rated, and this rating is given based on a number 0 to 5. If I'm giving it a number 0, that means it is not present or it has no influence in the software development process. If it is 1, it is incidental. If it is 2, it is moderately implemented. If it is 3, it is average. If it is 4, it is significant. And if I have given a rating of 5, that means it is very essential in the development of the program. So here in the question, we are said that they are all average. Okay, so that means the answer to all these 14 questions has to be 3, number 3. So I've written here number 3, which applies to all these. Okay, so 14 questions, all with significant value 3. So the summation of all these numbers will be 14 into 3. Do you agree with that? Okay, so 14 into 3 is going to be my number, which is equal to 42, I suppose. Yeah, okay. So here your sigma fi is nothing but summation of all the 14 questions significant value. Okay, so that is equal to 42. So CAF can be calculated as 0.65 plus 0.01 into 14 questions, all having a value of 3. So 14 into 3, which is 42. So this answer is 1.07. And finally, after calculating UFP and CAF, you can calculate FPA using product of both. So this is my step number 3, where I have calculated their product. 660 into 1.07, which is 706.2. So it is just a number. It has no physical meaning, as you can see. That is the disadvantage. Okay. So this was all about size and function oriented metrics. We shall move on to use case and object oriented metrics in the next slide. That's all for today. Thank you.